Have you ever wished you could get like a backstage pass to like a really vibrant cultural celebration?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's kind of what we're doing today.
Okay.
We're diving deep into Eid Alfitr, specifically how it's celebrated in Morocco.
Nice.
And the goal today is to really pull out, kind of the most interesting and significant pieces of how Eid Alfitr is celebrated there. So, in Morocco, they often refer to Eid Alfitr as Laayoune, which translates to like the small Eid. And it's called that to distinguish it from Eid al-Adha, which is Laayoune Kabir.
Right.
But don't let that fool you. Just because it's called the small Eid doesn't mean that it's not a huge celebration.
No, absolutely not.
So, okay, so let's just kind of jump into this. Like, what can you expect on Eid morning in Morocco? What's the scene like?
Well, one of the fascinating things is that, even before sunrise, the energy is palpable. Imagine like in Fez, Marrakech, these historic cities, you have people streaming towards the mosques, or in some cases, these large open-air prayer spaces called masallas.
Oh, wow. What are those like?
So these masallas are basically, designated areas, sometimes they can be quite large, specifically prepared for these Eid prayers.
Okay.
And they become these vibrant hubs of communal worship. It really just shows you the scale and importance of this event. And, everyone from the youngest to the oldest is dressed, in their finest attire, ready for Salat al-Eid, the special Eid prayer.
Oh, okay. So is that different than like their daily prayers?
Yeah, it's a special prayer that marks the official beginning of Eid. And it's distinct from the daily prayers, in its format, and also in the sense of community that it really fosters.
Yeah.
So, for Moroccan Muslims, it's a very powerful symbol of unity.
Oh, wow. So it's a real communal experience from the very start.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned that everybody's dressed in their finest attire. That sounds so interesting. Can you describe what these special clothes look like?
Yeah, I think when we talk about this, we're really talking about Moroccan identity, and for the men, a classic choice is a pristine white djellaba. It's that, long flowing robe with a hood.
Oh, yeah.
And it's often paired with, comfortable but still refined leather babouche slippers.
Okay.
Some men might also complete their look with a traditional tarbouche, which is the fez hat.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's a picture of just like very understated elegance and tradition.
So it sounds like there's a lot of white being worn by the men. What about the women? Do they bring some color into this?
Absolutely. Women often wear, these breathtaking kaftans or takitas. And takitas, those are particularly elaborate. They're often, two pieces, exquisitely crafted and adorned with, really intricate embroidery.
Oh, wow.
What's really interesting is that the designs can sometimes be very specific to different regions of Morocco.
Oh, wow.
So it adds this whole other layer of like cultural tapestry,
So they're like walking, talking representations of their region.
In a way, yes. It's fascinating.
Well, that's so cool. What about the children? Do they get dressed up too?
Oh, absolutely. Children, they're such an integral part of the joy of Eid. And they, fully embrace this tradition of dressing up.
Yeah.
So you'll see little girls in, miniature versions of these beautiful kaftans, sometimes with henna patterns on their hands and feet.
Oh, cute.
And boys, they'll wear small djellabas, looking very adorable, like pint-sized versions of their fathers.
Oh, that is cute.
It's really heartwarming to see, these customs being passed down literally like through generations, from clothing.
Yeah, I love that. So everybody's done with the prayers. Everybody looks fantastic. What happens next?
Well, this is where the food comes in.
Okay, I was about to say, I bet there's some delicious traditional breakfast coming up.
Exactly. So, after those morning prayers, families head back home for a special breakfast. And I'm saying special because it's not your typical everyday breakfast.
Right.
It's more like a delicious, prelude to the main feast that's going to come later in the day.
Okay.
And it features, just this delightful assortment of traditional Moroccan sweets.
Okay, stop. We need names. What are some of these sweets?
Okay, so first we have fecas.
Yeah, okay.
And those are like twice-baked cookies, kind of similar to like, Italian biscotti. Often they have nuts, dried fruits in them, and they're perfect for like dipping in tea or coffee.
Yeah.
Then you have kaba el ghazal, which, that translates to gazelle horns. They're delicate little crescent-shaped pastries filled with this fragrant almond paste and dusted with powdered sugar.
Oh, my goodness.
And finally, we have chabakia, which is, truly a highlight of this Eid breakfast.
Okay.
They're these beautiful flower-shaped cookies. They're deep fried until golden and then soaked in honey syrup. So they're really, really, decadent and, particularly associated with Ramadan and Eid.
That sounds so good. Wow. Yeah, it's clear that, food is more than just fuel here. It's really a central part of the entire Eid celebration.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that breakfast is just the beginning. Because the main meal, which is usually lunch, preparations for that often start days in advance.
Oh,
it's a real, collective effort in many Moroccan households.
Oh.
Family members are all pitching in, different ways.
So what are some of the dishes that people can expect for this main Eid meal?
Okay, so imagine, a table laden with food, right? The centerpiece is often couscous.
Right, of course.
Because it's the national dish.
Yeah.
And, for Eid, it's typically served with 7 different vegetables.
Wow.
7 vegetables, yeah. And then either, tender lamb or chicken.
Oh, my goodness.
Alongside that, you'll find, fragrant tagines, these aromatic stews, that have these beautiful combinations of meat, vegetables, all sorts of spices.
Yeah.
And then, we can't forget pastilla.
What's that?
Pastilla is, this truly unique and magnificent sweet and savory pie. It's often filled with shredded pigeon or chicken. And it has almonds, spices, all encased in this, flaky pastry, and then dusted with cinnamon and powdered sugar.
Okay, hold on. So it's sweet and savory.
Yes.
In a pie.
Yes.
That's so interesting. Okay, I have to try that. Wow. That sounds like an incredible culinary experience. And I know that, in Moroccan culture, family is so important. So how does that play out during Eid?
Yeah, you raise a really important point because, strong social bonds are so central to the whole idea of Eid. And there's this tradition, it's deeply ingrained, it's called Salatur Rahim.
Okay.
And it really emphasizes, maintaining and strengthening family ties. And Eid is, a particularly significant time to practice this. And, I think this is a tradition, it's not just about, obligatory visits or anything.
Right.
It's really woven into the social fabric of Morocco.
Okay.
It acts as this, crucial support system,
Right.
And it reinforces these communal values in a society where family is so central. It's almost an investment in social capital. Right?
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so what does Salatur Rahim actually look like in practice during Eid?
So on the first day of Eid, the main focus is often visiting, parents, the oldest members of the family.
Okay.
It's a sign of deep respect and also a way to receive, blessings for the year ahead.
Oh, nice.
And the kids, they love this part because when they go visit these relatives, they often get idea,
Oh, yeah.
which are gifts of money.
Okay, so it's kind of like the Chinese New Year red envelopes.
Yeah, very similar, yeah. And then these visits, they continue for up to 3 days.
Oh, wow.
So, people are circulating amongst relatives, close friends, neighbors, just reconnecting and reinforcing those bonds.
It's so nice. So, we've talked about the more universal aspects of Eid. Are there any traditions that are, uniquely Moroccan?
Yeah, there are definitely some very charming local customs that really add a special touch to Moroccan Eid.
What are some of those?
Okay, so there's this really lovely one. It's observed in certain regions. It's called Zamzam. And for Zamzam, children carry these beautifully decorated water jugs.
Okay.
And they go around playfully sprinkling rose water on visiting guests.
Oh, that's so nice.
As a gesture of, welcome, kind of symbolic blessing. It's just this, delightful little sensory detail.
Yeah, that's so nice. Is there anything else?
Yeah, so in the city of Tangier, you have this distinctive tradition called the Nefar. And basically, on the night before Eid, a town crier, who's known as the Nefar, he announces the end of Ramadan and kind of the imminent arrival of Eid.
Okay.
And he does this by playing a horn, as he walks through the streets.
Oh, wow.
So, the sound of this horn echoing through the city, it creates this really, unique and anticipatory atmosphere. And, it's a tradition that's largely specific to Tangier. It's like a special auditory marker for the holiday.
I love that.
And then perhaps most significantly, there's the Moroccan approach to Zakat al-Fitr, which is, the obligatory act of charity associated with Eid.
Okay.
It's typically, like a small amount of food or its monetary equivalent per person.
Right.
And it's traditionally distributed before the Eid prayer, to ensure that everyone has the means to celebrate.
Of course.
But while this is a universal practice among Muslims, in Morocco, it's particularly common for families to actually invite individuals who are less fortunate to join their Eid celebration and share the festive meal, which is really a beautiful reflection of this understanding of community and shared prosperity.
Yeah.
It's about ensuring that the joy of the celebration is truly collective.
That's so powerful. It sounds like all these traditions are really deeply ingrained in Moroccan culture. But how have things perhaps evolved over time? Are younger people still participating?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because Morocco, like any other society, is navigating, between its long-standing traditions and modernity.
Of course, yeah.
And, there are shifts that we observe. For example, you might see younger people choosing to wear, more contemporary clothing styles for Eid.
Right.
Or families, particularly those in urban areas, might occasionally, dine out at restaurants as part of their celebration.
Okay, so, a little less of the home cooking and a little bit more maybe of the convenience.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reflection of, I think, a changing lifestyle.
Right.
But beyond, just clothing and dining, I think we're also seeing changes in how these traditions are maintained and communicated across generations, especially with increased, urbanization and globalization.
Okay.
Like, think about younger Moroccans who are living abroad. They might rely more on things like video calls to participate in Silatura Rashim.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So they're adapting these practices to their circumstances while still upholding the core value.
Yeah, so it's like a modern take on, an age-old tradition.
Exactly.
Love that. So it sounds like, maybe some things are changing superficially, but the core essence is still there.
Yes, absolutely. Those core elements, the family visits, the prayers, the sharing of delicious food, those remain incredibly important.
Yeah.
And, what's really interesting is seeing how younger generations are integrating these traditions into their own lives. The widespread sharing of Eid celebrations on social media, that's a great example.
Totally, yeah.
It's a contemporary way to connect with these traditions and share them with a broader audience.
It's so great. So if you had to pick just one thing, what would you say is the most special thing about experiencing Eid in Morocco?
For me, it really boils down to this overwhelming sense of unity and togetherness that pervades the whole celebration.
Yeah.
During Eid in Morocco, you see this incredible outpouring of warmth, generosity, goodwill. People are greeting each other with, Eid Mubarak or Eid Saeed, these joyful greetings. And you hear that everywhere you go. Homes are open to guests. Food is shared so generously. And there's just this atmosphere of joy, forgiveness, reconciliation.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah. And, there's this really beautiful saying in Morocco that I think captures it perfectly. It says, Eid is not about new clothes, but about hearts coming together. And, I truly believe that's the essence of the celebration. It's this time when past disagreements are put aside, forgiveness is offered freely, and the entire community just comes together in this, shared celebration of goodwill.
That's so beautiful. And it's all happening against this backdrop of, Morocco's incredible landscapes.
Absolutely.
From those blue streets of Chefchaouen to the ancient Medinas of Fez. And then the coastal beauty of Essaouira. It's adding to, this visual and cultural richness.
It's an amazing tapestry.
Yeah, it's incredible. So let's say someone's listening to this deep dive and they're planning a trip to Morocco and they happen to be there during Eid Alfitr. What advice would you give them?
My number one piece of advice is to accept every invitation you get.
Okay.
If a Moroccan family invites you to join their Eid celebration, take them up on it.
Yeah.
It's really the best way to experience, the true warmth and generosity and hospitality of Moroccan culture. And don't feel like you have to bring, elaborate gifts.
Right.
Your presence and your willingness to, participate are the most valuable things.
Yeah.
Be prepared to eat a lot of delicious food, engage in conversations, and you might even find yourself learning traditional songs, maybe trying some dance steps, or even being shown how to pour the perfect glass of Moroccan mint tea, which they sometimes call Moroccan whiskey.
Oh, I love that. That sounds like an amazing experience. It's really incredible how Karim has painted this picture of Eid Alfitr in Morocco. it's so much more than just, marking the end of Ramadan.
Yeah, it really is.
It's such a meaningful celebration.
It's a window into their culture.
Yeah. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave our listeners with something to think about. Maybe the true essence of any celebration, no matter what the rituals are, is about that feeling of togetherness and generosity. So we want you to think about how you experience and participate in your own traditions. And what is it that really brings hearts together?
Yeah, what makes us feel connected?
Exactly.
It's a powerful question.
It is.
بغيت شي حاجة نفطر بها إلا كان ممكن عافاك. فكرة ما عندي والو. ما عنديش.
ماشي مشكلة نخلص تجيب كان. ماشي مشكلة ما نخلص حتى وكنجي.
هكاك. ولا ما جبتش.
ماشي مشكلة ما نبغاش نفطر.
ولكن إلا ما جبتش. إلا ما جبتش.
نكون ديجا خلصتها. نكون ديجا خلصتها.
اسمك الله.
كاميليا.
كاميليا. شرفيني. هذه راه كاميرا كتصور. ياك. وهذا رزقك عطاه لك الله. بسم الله. شكرا بزاف. عرفتي اش غديري دابا؟ غتعطينا هذا البلاطو هذا وهذا نفرقوه في سبيل مزيانه. يلا هاك بسم الله. الله يحفظك تا. باش عامره؟ هادو غير الادوات ديالي هنا. الادوات ديالي. انا شوف البنيتات اسمع البنيتات غادي ياخذوا الاتجاه. يلاه كلشي يجلس بلاصتو. يجلس بلاصتك بعقلك صافي. يلاه يجلس بلاصتك بعقلك. البنيتات ياخذوا الاتجاه. الوليدات عندكم عاوتاني نتوما. يلاه شوف هنا شوف هنا شوف هاي. يلاه جلس بلاصتك كلشي غادي يوصل لحقك. عجبوكم زوينين؟
إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون نزلا من غفور رحيم. صدق الله العظيم.